Shalom, it's me, Baht Of Zion, for 2 AM Confessionals or Chronicles. And I want to talk about the path. That's right, the path, family. You have to know where you are going, right? But the only way to know where you are going is because you have to understand where you've been, okay? And that path comes with a lot of you facing yourself in the mirror, you facing your actions head on, okay? Now, so many times throughout our walk of lives, okay, definitely not excluding myself, we think that we have everything mapped out, that we know how everything is going to shift, and that we can ultimately determine the outcome of situations that we may currently be experiencing, right? But that type of understanding and knowledge, it doesn't come without you not reflecting on what you've previously been through in the months, days, weeks, or years that have passed. Okay? Now, in our book of Ecclesiastes, our wisdom, it tells us not to remember the days of old, as far as not consistently wanting to relive those things that we've dealt with that Yah has saved us from. Okay? However, what you can do is look back on your past as a tool guide of what not to return to, what not to allow yourself to be subjected to, and what not to allow to have some type of umbrella or hindrance over your current day journey within this truth. Now, so many people, whether it be an elder or whether it be someone mid-20s, late 30s, whatever, so many people fall willfully victim to that mindset of, I did bad then, so it got to pan out for me the same way now. Not understanding that recipe that you had back then was something that was needed for the kitchen that you were in at that moment when you were baking that cake. Okay? You cannot bring your winter energy into the spring or into your summer purpose. You can't do that, family. Because two things are going to happen when you do things like that. One, you're going to stall your spiritual growth with Yahweh. Okay? And then two, you're going to become rebellious. Okay? And it's going to be open rebellion, because you're not going to want to grab onto the change, and the change is for your better. Okay? And then two, when you come into your spiritual being connection, alignment with the Creator, it forces you, family, to shed off that dead weight. It forces you to be the light to other people so they can see the path that you had to take in order to get to the victory, in order to get over a milestone that you were once dealing with, but you not concrete and wholeheartedly understanding that person who is looking at you is probably going through something slightly similar to what you already overcome. So you have to keep going forward in this path, in this truth walk, without looking back. The only time, royal family, that you look back is to see, dang, I see what you're going through, and I know what I dealt with then. I remember that I was once a slave too in Egypt. Now that my mind has been set free, now that my actions have been tossed away, what I used to do, which was nothing but destruction towards my Ruach, I can be a better representation of the holy name of the Creator of whom I serve, Yahweh, a God, the Adonai of Israel. Okay? But you have to be mindful that you cannot go back to what you used to be. You cannot go back to that same indoctrinated thinking. You cannot go back to those uncontrolled emotions. You cannot go back to being someone who Yah didn't even call to come to him in this truth anyways. You can't do that, family. But you do have to understand where you came from. You came from the bottom. You came from emptiness. You came from the vain things that you once held up high and looked forward to as being your comfort. You came from consistently wanting to have applause, consistently wanting to have people in your corner to tell you you're doing the right thing when you're actually doing the wrong thing. You came from struggling, trying to figure out how you're going to make your ends meet, thinking that you're out here working 2-3 jobs, making it on your own, when it was not your hand that did it. It was the Most High, Yah. You came from being someone who was not wanting you to bend on anybody else. You came from someone thinking that I don't need nobody. As long as I got me, I am good. When in all actuality, you are not. You were not good then. But guess what? You are a better version of you today. Because why? You broke those chains. Breaking those chains is understanding what you've been through. Breaking those chains is to be able to look back at the same chains that's on the ground and understanding not to put them back on. Shalom Berakah.